This is Lisa from MobileTechReview, and this is the 2023 Moto Razr Plus, known as the Razr 40 Ultra in Europe and maybe some other countries too, but in the United States it's the Razr Plus. You know that I'm bullish on folding phones. I like them quite a lot, but I understand why some people might be folding phone curious but not ready for it. But finally, I think we're starting to see better pricing and a use case, especially one of the things that really was lacking in the flip style phone versus the ones that turn into a tablet, which is a very usable outer display. This is a 3.6-inch outer display, 1065 by 1056 pixels. And when you think of it, it's crazy because this is as big a display, obviously different aspect ratio, as the original iPhone. We're going to look at it now. So this phone sells for $999. I call it $1,000. Comes in 3 colors. Our black, you can get it in glacial blue, which is very pretty light blue. I think it's kind of sold out everywhere though. And magenta, which has a vegan leather back instead of a glass back. The backs on these, meaning the section of the rear that is not the display on the back side, is Gorilla Glass Victus, so is the front, but it's a matte or frosted glass finish that actually is grippy. You know, sometimes you see a phone with a nice frosted matte finish, but it's still slippery. This is grippy, which is nice because there was no case in the box. Like, is there ever? You don't even get a charger in the box anymore, but you know what I mean. I have no trouble holding on to this. 7000 series aluminum for the casing, but obviously the girl in the room here is Samsung and the Galaxy Z Flip 4, and soon the Z Flip 5 is coming out. I'm going to talk and do some comparison stuff about that, but it would be lovely to see finally the duopoly in the United States, which is Samsung and Apple, have to move over a little bit and allow a competitor in. Now, Moto has been making Razrs for like 3 generations. In the United States, we missed one of those generations last year's, but anyway, and at first they were going for that iconic Razr look, like the 90s flip phone kind of thing, and that was cute, but maybe that's not really what people needed. Now it's something that's a lot like the Z Flip 4, but takes it in even better directions. First off, one of the things that I know a lot of people were like, is it folds completely flat? Now, rumor is a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5 might also. It's a difference in hinge design, what Moto is doing versus what Samsung's doing. They call it the teardrop style. So there is an area inside, you can see the visual to show you, where the display can bow and expand when it's folded shut. But it's just nice. It doesn't look kind of kludgy and weird. Things don't get stuck inside there. It's IP52 dust and water resistant. So with Samsung's folding phones these days, they're IPX8. X means nothing for the dust, 8 for the water. So they're better for water resistance. You can actually submerge them if you're brave enough to do that. So this one is raindrops, splashes, if you have it by the sink, that sort of thing. No, don't drop it in your bathtub. That wouldn't be a good idea. But the dust resistance is really important here because as you've followed foldables, perhaps you know that getting dust under the screen can be damaging to them. So this is a good thing. Incidentally, you know, if you look at forums and Reddit, you see people complaining about their Samsung Galaxy Fold and Flip displays breaking, typically where it folds at the hinge. I personally haven't had that happen. I have had friends who've had that happen. And I've seen that less with the Moto Razr, which could just be because there's fewer people that buy them to complain about them when they break, but it could be that this design is a little bit superior when it comes to durability. It's still a flexible, foldable glass inner display. It's 6.9 inches, which is nice. That's currently the biggest, at least in the United States, you can get in a folding phone. And it's full HD plus resolution. And that outer display, well, you already know the specs on that one. What's important about that outer display is you can run anything you want on. Yes, Moto includes 5 games optimized for that screen, which are kind of fun. And a selection of widgets, like a calendar widget and a weather widget, useful things, but also just an Android launcher screen. I find most apps actually work. And you might say, oh, but it's so small, why would you use that? Because it's convenient. Because part of the point of the Flip isn't just that it's a big screen phone that you can fit in your pocket easily. It's for those who don't want to keep staring at their phone all the time, right? So at first it seemed like the Galaxy Z Flip was great for that, but then for so many things you actually had to open it up and then you're down that rabbit hole and you're looking at all of the notifications and all of the stuff and all the TikToks that are on your phone. So this really helps you. If you got messages, it's a usable display to do messaging with. If you get a notification on Reddit that you're just burning to see You know, you can do that without actually opening the phone. All of these things actually work. When I go to the gym, I have my gym app, and instead of having to take out the phone and open it, which might make you say, oh, why did I get a folding phone? This is annoying. No, it just works on the outer screen, so they can shoot the barcode, and I can go in and lift my weights, right? I think you get the idea. I don't have to run on at the mouth about this. There's a lot of things that it's pretty handy to use. Yes, you could play TikTok on the outside screen. Yes, you can play YouTube. I don't think that's the most enjoyable use of it, but you can do all those things. And there are settings. The software that Moto did is very good, and software sells hardware. If you don't believe me, especially those of you who don't like Apple and you wonder why it's so popular, it's the software, because they take hardware that might not even be cutting edge, but they give you the experiences that make it enjoyable, that make it seamless. Moto's done a good job of this. Instead of giving you every feature and throwing it on the wall and see what sticks, why is it even there? We don't know. Every little tweak here is done to make the phone enjoyable. It's sort of like using a Google Pixel, but with some more usability tweaks that Google typically leaves out of the Pixels to make it more comfortable. But you can set which apps run on the outer screen. It's easy enough to add them and remove them. The software is pretty intuitive. You can set whether they transition in both directions, using it on the inner display and then fold it to use it on the outer display, or vice versa. With calls, you can set whether closing the flip ends the call or not, because you might want to just close it and go to speakerphone and then not have to walk around with this big old phone next to your ear. All the software experience is very well done. Nothing seems gratuitous, random, annoying, just good. In the United States, you can buy the Razer Plus unlocked direct from Moto or from Best Buy or Amazon. Also, T-Mobile and AT&T are carrying it. It has 5G sub-6, but not millimeter wave. That's the reason why Verizon isn't selling it directly, because that's their weird rule. They still insist all their phones also have millimeter wave 5G, not just sub-6. For audio, the phone has decent stereo speakers, Dolby Atmos software for using peripherals, but sorry, Bluetooth audio only. There is no headphone jack. In terms of performance, you have basically the same processor that's in the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4, which is last year, 2022's Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. So that's a hurt. So, I mean, it could have been worse. It's not a mid-rangey CPU. For a while, Moto was doing that with Razrs, but it's not the most cutting edge. Where it could make a difference, actually, I would say is not so much about the performance, because this is fast enough. You can play games on and do anything you want, but potential power improvements that Qualcomm does with every generation of Snapdragon for improved battery life. That said, the battery life on this, considering it's a 3800 milliamp battery, you don't get huge batteries in folding phones, was better than I expected. I thought it would be pretty Folding phones typically have not great battery life. Right? This one I have no problem getting through today, and that's doing the stuff I do when I'm reviewing a phone, which is taking more photos and videos than normal, using it for some GPS and guidance, taking more photos, again, you know, playing some games. It easily lasts me through the day. Screen on time is not a measurement I'm even going to use here, because Android tracks only the main display and not how much you're using the outer display, which might be part of the reason that battery life is better than you expect, because the outer display actually is functional, so you can do things on there and not open it up. I'm fine with that. That's good. It supports 30 watt, as Motorola calls it, turbo fast charging, which is great. No charger in the box, which is not great. It's par for the course, though, in 2022 and 2023. And it supports Qi wireless charging at a glacially slow 5 watt. It's fine if you want to stick the phone on a charger overnight to charge, right? You're not going to want to use it otherwise. It's slow. It's OG charging, right? We have 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. As you might guess, there's no micro SD card slot, because we almost never get that anymore. That's adequate specs, I think, for most people. You've got your usual Bluetooth 5.3, Wi-Fi 6E, NFC, yes, Google Wallet supported, formerly the artist known as Google Pay. And you've got a fingerprint scanner in the power button, very narrow little power button. It works really well. And then there's facial unlocking as well, which isn't the most secure, but it's there for convenience as well. Works both the inner and the outer displays. Now let's talk about, do we have to? All right. No, it wasn't that bad. It's the cameras. We have 2 cameras, which isn't a surprise, on the outside. The selfie camera on the inside is 32 megapixels, and it's pretty good. And it takes selfies of cats, too. Check that out. And on the main cameras, you have a 12 megapixel main camera with OIS and a 13 megapixel ultra wide that isn't that ultra wide. You can see the specs for all the cameras right now. You can shoot 4K video with inner and outer. cameras at 30 frames per second. You've got your usual special effects, some slow motion, stuff like that. It's HDR, you know, but it's Moto, and they have, it's a little hit or miss. I mean, most of the pictures I took, especially outdoors in good light, were perfectly fine with the usual smartphone. You see it everywhere, even the Pixel's doing it these days, over sharpening of nature and leaves and details and stuff like that. But occasionally I would just see, especially when it's doing the HDR thing, it looked like old school HDR where things look a little pastel-y when they shouldn't, and the color balance or the brightness balancing were a little bit off, but actually it's not that atrocious. This is not something you're going to buy if you're a real camera phone maven. You know, if you're like, I'm going to get a Pixel 7 Pro because I want the best, or an iPhone 14 or something like that for great cameras. No, but it's not bad. And even the low lights are okay. They're not stunning. They're not amazing, as Samsung does a really good job with low light these days, evening shots, but it's fine. And the video is not that bad either on it. Another nice piece of software and good use of the external screen is if you're taking a photo of somebody, you can actually set the outer display to show them what you're taking a picture of, i.e. them, which really makes for better photos because people just suddenly like perk up and smile and make much better expressions when you're taking the picture. All right. I'm not going to bend over backwards to sell you unfoldables. You see what I did there? But I am going to tell you about the Z Flip versus this. First, Z Flip 4, obviously they're at the same price. Right now, I would say the Moto wins, believe it or not, because you're getting a bigger inner display. You've got that absolutely usable, game-changing outer display that does useful stuff, right? So those two are big selling points right there. And you get dust resistance, which is nice. And you get a flat closing phone. This is also nice. Now, the Z Flip 5 is, you know, every summer they've been coming out with one, and there's rumors and major leaks already, so let's talk about those as far as we can see. It looks like Samsung might have switched the hinge design a bit to fold it flat. That's good. It will likely have the latest Gen CPU, which will be one gen newer. That's Pro for Samsung. It will have an outer display that's larger finally, looks like 3.5 inches, but supposedly at significantly lower resolution, like 750 pixels versus this one's 1050 pixels, you know, squarish direction. And for the outer screen being as important as it seems to be, that's a hurt. We don't know if Samsung is going to allow you to use all apps on the outer screen like you can with the Motorola. Again, I think that's an important thing. Will it just be widgets and a white listed set of apps? We don't know yet. I can't tell you that. So there's a transition time. I understand if you want to wait to see what the Z Flip 5 offers, but in the meantime, also the rumor is it might go up to $1,300. Well, that would push me in Camp Moto. But anyway, it's good to have choices, and I really hope that Moto is successful with this so we can have more choices. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and thumbs up if you like this vid.